Okay, it's time. It's November. The haiku,
Already.
the haiku narratives gang is here, ready,
Good morning.
poised. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. From Dayton, from Boise, from and from around the world.
Something like that.
Sorry. So I have these in order. So if you want to, we can just do it that way. What do you think?
Sure. Sure.
So I'm going to share my screen so that folks can see. So I'm thinking again, um, if the author would read it, and then we'll respond to it. I'll take it off once we get that going. So the first one, Haiku Narratives by us. So the first one's Amy's, and isn't this pretty?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's awesome.
Fantastic.
So Amy, you want to read it?
Yeah, let me see here though. For some reason, when you went to share screen, it went to the full thing. How do I get out to get to my, oh, here we go. Okay. I'm just pulling it up on my computer. All right. I guess I can read this. What do trees teach? Roots, sway, protect, surrender. Let the trees teach us.
Excellent.
Yep. I love this a lot.
I do too.
So Amy goes last, right? With her haibun.
She does. So you want to go first? You want to take it?
Yeah. St. Francis is said to have proclaimed, preach, if necessary, use words. No matter who actually coined the phrase, it's a good one, rich with meaning for human life. It's a powerful reminder that behavior is everyone's first teacher, and words are only a distant supporting cast member. At a time when it seems only the loudest, most outrageous voices are heard, it is so hopeful to think of the trees as our best preachers and teachers. I often only think of trees as things I should plant more, destroy less, and keep at least 10 feet away from my bird feeders, lest the squirrels use them for a convenient launching point. Psalm 1 tells us that happy people are like trees planted by streams of water, yielding their fruit in its season and maintaining leaves that don't wither. Is this Hesse's ancient law of life? The trees teach us to rely on the things that sustain us, reject the things that destroy us. It seems easy enough, except it's not. We're hardwired for self-destruction. That's another ancient law of life. Temptation is omnipresent, and it doesn't take much for things to start going sideways. Remember the trees: deep roots, slow, patient growth, stability in the face of chaos, bend just enough to not break when it's windy. It's a long list that could keep getting longer, but deeply meaningful.
Wow, that's great.
I love that. Wow. Wow.
I love trees.
I do too. I do too.
Me too. Me too.
Speaking of which, as someone who has come to treat trees more and more as subjects than objects, this haiku with the delightful words of Hesse on the back cover gave them an even more intimate, personal feel. More than a feel, though, and more of a relationship. They are teachers, this haiku asserts, and as teachers do, they ground us deeply, drawing from the earth. They adapt to meet the ever-changing climate. They look over us, always, and they surrender us. They let us go on our way. Our planet has a relationship with trees, and it's a symbiotic one. We have relationships with trees and can plant them as windbreaks or harvest their fruit. I have relationships with trees and hug one every time I take a walk, thanking one long-lived or newly planted elephant of living conifers or oaks or cottonwoods for being a well-rooted, well-placed, living lesson for each who passes by.
I love it. Wow.
Yeah, very nice.
How fun, huh?
Do you have pictures?
So good.
Do you have pictures of yourself hugging trees?
Yeah, we might need to see that.
I hug trees. My friend Kevin Laughlin taught me to love hug trees years ago, and so now every time I take a hike or a walk, I am likely to hug a tree. So it's hard to take a picture while you're hugging a tree, right? It's a selfie, kind of a selfie. That defeats the purpose of the hug. But Amy, what you got?
Well, just on that, I have learned to, and my daughter does this too. She's learned it from me, but we always say the Christ in me bows to the Christ in you when we see a tree, like
Oh, wow.
just a nod to
That's awesome.
the teacher. All right. The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Walben changed the way I look at trees. I've always appreciated trees, but after reading Walben's book about trees, I see trees as teachers and metaphors right in our midst. Walben shares in his book how trees are communal by nature. They communicate with each other in very surprising ways. If one tree in a quote unquote family starts to be attacked by beetles or harming insects, they send out a chemical warning through their intertwined root systems and through their leaves. Nearby trees receive the message and change the pH of their bark to repel the beetles. Trees can share water and nutrients if a tree in their root system needs water or help to fight off a disease. I wanted this haiku to remember that the most profound teachers aren't out there, they're in our yards. Roots are vital for the health and growth of a tree. The depth and reach of the roots creates the stability and firmness that we expect of trees. The roots are where communication and growth begin. Trees don't stand firm against the wind of change. They sway and bend, and therein they are protected. They protect each other, birds, squirrels, and the weary traveler who rests their back against it. Each year, we see the trees surrender their beauty and energy to the seasons, not in death, but in life. Let us see the trees.
Wow.
Nice connections there. I like that a lot.
What a good message. So is this book of trees, is this the recent one that's been out for just recently that I've heard about? I need to read it.
Probably. I don't know. I read it last year. It's just the best book. He's a forest man, and he's writing about the ancient growth forests in Europe, in Germany, and he spent his whole life studying them. And it was just seriously like one of the most life-changing books I've ever read. It just, yeah, it's so good. I mean, I never would have thought I would get wrapped up in a book about trees, but it's that good.
What's the name of it again?
The Hidden Life of Trees.
Yeah, I've heard of this book.
Yeah.
So I'll mention it. When I put this video up, I'll mention that book so that folks have that reference.
Yeah, it's really good.
Cool. That's excellent. Okay, Dr. Carr-Chellman, one with the beard. Let me just find. It is November after all. Let me just find your haiku here.
It just gets grayer and grayer every year.
Don't look in my mirror. Okay, here's Davin's. Can y'all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I titled it, Welcome the Stranger, Be the Stranger. Enclaves restrict us. A love ever more open. Growth found in others. Advent is quickly approaching.
Whoops. You have to wait for us.
That's right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just want to make sure, the process. So Pope Francis, that's fratelli tutti. That means brothers and sisters all, something like that, I think. I can't remember exactly. That's the book, eh? Okay, fratelli tutti. Amy, you want to be our leader here? You want me to?
Sure, I can go. Recently I read, and I wish I could remember where and who to give credit to, that people look for protection either from walls or wings. Walls feel safe and secure. They create strong boundaries. But as Davin's haiku reminds us, enclaves, walls, restrict us. Whereas wings can be, symbolically of course, we can be tucked under like baby chicks, safe under our mother's wing, or rescued by the wings of a quick mama bird when a bird falls from the nest or hasn't quite learned to fly. I've been on the receiving end of an angry rooster's wings, and it's not something I'm looking to repeat. To stay in love and open to strangers and intentionally out of enclaves is tricky. It's a practice that requires intentionality, bravery, and I think maturity. Walls that create enclaves invite us to divide people into categories, like me and different from me. As the final line of this very deep haiku reminds us, growth doesn't happen alone. Growth happens when we are challenged and supported by people who see the world with different eyes. Trees aren't made to grow alone, and neither are people.
Nice connection.
Yeah,
Made
great.
a little.
Yes,
I
I
love
like
that.
it.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Amy. This is a very deep haiku, and caused me to think. So of course that's what a great haiku does. So this is what I said. My first thought when coming upon the word enclave is imagining the College of Cardinals enclosed in the Sistine Chapel voting for the next pope. In that sense, an enclave would seem to protect and to be a container that allows safety. In other words, it's a sanctuary from the push and pull of the secular and the wider world. It's a quiet place, intimate, beautiful, intentional, and magisterially significant. Here, when I read enclaves restrict us, I envision the other side of the coin. The very barriers that protect also select. The in and the out, the in and the out, the ability to transcend, to step off the island of or for others, to land upon land, separated physically or theologically or otherwise. But the deep hope of this haiku resides in the superseding potency of love. Even within the enclave, within the ghetto, the prison, the organization, the internment camp, the patriarchal family, the small town, or your part of the caste system, love can prevail. Others can nurture growth, understanding, virtue, and care. Loving others, others loving, subsumes boundaries, de-schisms schisms, and replaces the qualities of scarcity found in separateness with symbiotic abundance.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a great haiku.
It is. Yep.
All right. Advent is quickly approaching, as you heard a few minutes ago.
Yes, it is.
A time of celebration and anticipation, even in the midst of a pandemic. My family's life has been turned upside down by a strenuous effort to protect us from COVID. So it's easy for me to get consumed by patiently waiting for the miracles of science to bring us a vaccine. It's easy to forget that another message of this season, the approaching Advent season, is to recognize the very human tendency to fear those who are different. As we listen to the story of a young immigrant family relegated to a manger because there was no room at the inn. The most recent encyclical of Pope Francis, Fratelli Tutti, is a clarion call to heal the deep divisions in humanity, divisions that have always existed, but that are manifested and perpetuated now in new and more nefarious ways, through climate change, through technology, and through manipulative ideologues. He highlights refugees, immigrants, and the poor of the world as those who suffer the most when the rest of us turn a blind eye, urging us instead to work for, as he says, a love ever more open. It's an expansive vision of the human capacity for love. And the key to it is welcoming the stranger. It's also the key to our own growth into better human beings.
Wow.
Wow.
The pages of the encyclical, my copy of it here, it's just underlined and underlined. I mean, there's a lot about it that I don't like, but so much of it that is, that connects so deeply with things that I care about.
Well, clearly another book. I'm not nearly so scholarly as y'all are and these haikus. But I'll put that book in too. I'll put that encyclical in as well in our little post. Clearly I need to get a copy of that. That's wonderful as well.
You can
And
get
just
it. You can get it free online. So there are a couple of websites where you can read the full text of it, and it's long. It's a book. But I purchased a copy because I wanted to have it to mark up and whatnot.
Well, you know how it goes. One must have a copy. One must have a yellow highlighter and marginalia. One must. That's the way it goes. Awesome work. Okay, let's see what I got here. So we go from welcome stranger to carrots.
Love it.
So here it is. I like the flowers, the trees and vegetables and children laughing. That's it.
All right, I can go. I could feel and hear the single moment that Michael described in his haiku. There is power in simplicity. I like that he included the word like. In a world that can feel dominated by reviews and how many stars every item is worth, it feels like a breath of fresh air to hear I like flowers. This haiku feels like an invitation to notice, feel, and engage with the simple pleasures, flowers, trees, children laughing, and I can't help but feel there is probably a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, a few birds calling, and a busy squirrel close by gathering acorns. The practice of haiku writing has taught me the power of putting a frame around a single moment. Suddenly the richness that is right in front of us comes into view.
So true. So true.
Yep.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep. I like.
Thank you.
I like that you used like too.
Right?
All right. What is it about nature? It's easy to forget that nature is our most ancient teacher. Equal parts, like the trees, sort of as well, from Amy's haiku. Equal parts glorious and cruel. We've learned and relearned nature's lessons for millennia. Remember as well, in the midst of all that beauty, that Mother Nature wants to kill you. Murder hornets and hurricanes are only the most prominent current examples. At the same time, we've learned that humans need nature in a deep way, a way that transcends causal explanations. Why does a hike in the woods decrease stress and correlate with positive health outcomes? No clue. It just does. We've evolved as part of nature, protecting ourselves from her nastier tendencies and flourishing with her nourishment and splendor. It's only very recently that we've taken the calamitous turn away from nature, born of the dualistic sensibility that we are somehow not part of all that exists outside our skin. Of course, Mother Nature makes us better. She's been there from the beginning with us, and we are part of her. So we celebrate and delight in the unself-conscious glory of flowers that grow no matter who wins the election, trees that preach without words, and children that laugh without irony or sarcasm. There's no such thing as too many flowers or too many trees, and it strikes even the grumpiest curmudgeon as wrong to stifle a child's innocent laughter. These are good things to like.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Thank you, Davin.
A great haiku. And still, your haikus were like this. It was.
They were.
They were.
But there was a connection with them all. I think we found the connection through the whole thing.
Well, I made it hard on you, but you guys did it. So
we found it. We found the thread.
And I started writing these this month, and I do think that the pandemic and the lockdown for us being locked down it's just dampening everything. So I started writing these, and I started with my own haibun, and I was very resistant. I mean, it wasn't coming, it wasn't working for me. But by the time I finished, it just had everything was better. It just felt really good to do this writing. So I'm grateful for the practice.
I kind of felt the same way. It was hard to get started, and I was like, oh, I don't even know how I'm going to come up with anything. And then all of a sudden I finished. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun and so life-giving.
Yeah.
Yep. So you want me to read mine? My little haibun?
Yes.
Before I do that, that's the way it happens every darn month. I write a haiku, I send some haikus, I get Amy's haiku. Davin's arrives kind of, in a carriage in the middle of the night, under lock and key. And so I just enjoy writing. It's like phases, and so anyway, okay, here it is. Friends of mine, Kevin Laughlin and Carol McGee, have made several trips to visit the Idaho Botanical Gardens together. We hadn't been able to go for months because of the virus, but we're fortunate to find a time to go, well masked and socially distanced, a few weeks ago. Kevin, who's a master gardener and a frequent volunteer there, serves as our guide. He knows all about the plants and the history and the plans for the garden. He's also a certified spiritual director, so there tend to be all sorts of connections as we stroll along. This day, more than any other that I'd been there, children were present, fully present, laughing and talking and wandering and learning and playing as students and explorers and fun lovers. They were all over the place. Their laughter made me smile. Their enthusiasm gave me energy. Their curiosity made me think more creatively. Museums and libraries and botanical gardens are schools and playgrounds and terra incognita, places where we can all explore new territory.
Love it.
I tell you what, if I didn't take a daily walk outside my neighborhood and take a weekly walk amongst the foothills, mostly by myself, but on the weekends with my friend Vince, if I didn't have that, then this pandemic and all the stuff going on would just be oppressive. It would just be very difficult. Now, could I do it if I had to stay in my domicile for several weeks? Yes, I could. And a lot of it would be because of this kind of connection or, those kinds of things. But nature, trees, and even enclaves in the sense that, you're in this sanctuary, you're in this spot, like the botanical garden. It's like an enclave. The whole rest of the world is all around you, and there you are. So anyway, what a great month's worth of haikus. And anything else to say about them?
No, just thank you both.
Thank you. Yeah.
I could not be more grateful than for this fun experience. Okay. Yes.